Hello, welcome to La Excellence. Welcome to our Current Affairs for Beginners session. 23rd March is celebrated as Martyrs' Day or Shaheed Divas because on this day in the year 1931, these three revolutionary nationalists, Bhagat Singh, Rajguru, Sukhdev, these three were hanged in Lahore jail in the year 1931. In commemoration of them, we are celebrating Shaheed Divas on this particular day. In today's video, we are going to discuss about all these 14 issues. Our first article is with regard to Lokpal. Congress party has asked Lokpal to take up the case with regard to bribery diary. Yediyurappa is the leader from Karnataka, BJP leader. In his diary, there are some issues, there are some names mentioned for whom he has allegedly given money. So now Congress is asking Lokpal, which is recently appointed, to probe into the case. In this regard, we should know what is Lokpal, what are the functions of it, how it is appointed, all the details. Here, this topic comes under GS paper 2, governance under corruption. We have a specific concept known as corruption. Under that we have anti-corruption bodies. Lokpal is one such body that is appointed to probe the cases with regard to public corruption. Let us see what are the details of this. Lokpal is a statutory body because it is appointed based on Lokpal and Lokyukta Act of 2013. Based on this act, Lokpal is being appointed. It is appointed by President of India. It has this particular composition where chairman, one chairman and less than or equal to 8 members is the composition of Lokpal. Out of these 9 people, at least 50% should belong to judicial members, 50% should belong to SC, ST, OBC, women or minority. These are appointed by President of India based on a selection committee's recommendation. This selection committee consists of Prime Minister as the chairman, Lok Sabha Speaker, Leader of Opposition in Lok Sabha, Supreme Court Chief Justice of India or Supreme Court Judge recommended by Chief Justice of India, and one eminent jurist. These 6 people as a collective, as a selection committee, recommend some name to President of India. President of India appoints Lokpal. And we have a historical background with regard to Lokpal. These are the committees that have recommended for appointing Lokpal. First, Administrative Reforms Commission, M.N. Venkat Chellaya Committee, Second, Administrative Reforms Commission. All these commissions have recommended for appointing Lokpal. And finally, we have appointed Lokpal with a tenure of 5 years, or if the person reaches the age 70 or 5 years of tenure, then they get retired from this particular post. Service conditions are like Supreme Court Judge, and there can't be reappointment of the members. What are the functions? They inquire about the corruption cases. So this is overall about Lokpal. With regard to this, we have to remember few factual points. Lokpal cannot investigate. It is not an investigating body, but it asks the investigating body like CBI to investigate the cases and give the details to it. So it is not an investigation body. That point we should remember. And is PM included under Lokpal purview? Yes. PM is included. It means Lokpal can prosecute cases where Prime Minister is also involved. The next article is with regard to empowering the forest staff to protect the forest, to conserve the forest. This comes under our GS paper 3, Environment Conservation. Under conservation topic, we read about it. Here we have this particular law known as Indian Forest Act 1927. Now the government wants to amend this particular act, provide some civil court powers to the officers above forest range officer or equivalent to forest range officer. So those officers who are above or equal to forest range officer, for them civil court powers are given so as to protect the forest lands. But the provisions of amended Bill of Indian Forests Act Amendment 2019 is not yet made public. So when it is made public, let us understand more about it. Next article is with regard to Model Code of Conduct. Election Commission and its panel has issued a notice over an advertisement on Modi's biopic. This comes under our GS paper 2 polity elections. Under this topic of election, we have this word known as Model Code of Conduct. What is it? It is not a statutory provision, it is not a constitutional provision, but it is formed by the Election Commission of India as a model code of conduct. So it applies to all the political parties, individuals from the date of notification to the completion of the process. Completion of the process includes the counting of the votes. So model code of conduct applies from the date of notification till the date of the completion of the process. Then on what areas this MCC applies? On the general conduct, on meetings and processions, on the polling day and polling booth, how to behave, and on observers, election observers, and parties in power, election manifestos. On all these areas MCC applies. We should also remember this point. It also applies to caretaker government. Let's take a particular government has resigned. From that day to the election counting day, MCC applies. This is very important because last year, if you observe, Telangana government has resigned and the new elections, assembly elections conducted. So from the date of resigning to the completion of the process, MCC applies in that particular case. The next article is with regard to coalitions that are formed over here and politics based on ideology. So in GS paper 2 polity elections topics, we read this particular concept, identity politics. What is the meaning of this word identity politics? Identity can be a caste, can be religion, or can be a region. So based on all these aspects, if these are the attributes for coming together of the people and forming the political party, then we call such politics as identity based politics. Identity politics, it can be based on caste, it can be based on religion, it can be based on region, or it can be based on ethnicity. So these are identity based politics. If we see here, Mayawati's party, BSP, Bahujan Samajwad Party. BSP is based on some identity. Generally, we attribute it to Dalit based party. But then the word Bahujan is very comprehensive word. If you observe Bahujan, Bahu means multiple people. Here, these are backward classes. Bahujan party is for backward classes. Backward classes are defined very widely. Here, Kanshi Ram, who is founder of this party, he has envisaged it very widely, consisting of OBCs, minorities, representing lower castes, including Dalits, and women also. For all of their rights, this party was established. Now, if we attribute it only to Dalit issues, we are narrowing its scope. So we should see it from the larger perspective. From Monday, we are going to start this interesting series known as What and How of Political Parties. In that we will see in depth what are the political parties in India, what is their mandate, etc. Next article is with regard to West Nile virus. This comes under our GS paper 3 Science and Technology Diseases concept. Under diseases, we understand about various diseases and the availability of vaccines, symptoms, transmission mechanism, etc. Here in this particular article, it is saying that in Kerala, there are deaths due to West Nile fever. So this strain of virus is present in other states also. Government should take measures through better surveillance. That is what is the gist of this. We should understand what is this West Nile fever. West Nile fever spreads through a virus. This virus is similar to Japanese encephalitis 1, the symptoms etc. Here for West Nile fever, birds act as reservoir. Reservoir means this virus multiplies itself in the birds. Then it spreads to mosquitoes. This mosquito through its bite spreads to humans and such animals like horses. Then again mosquito bite to birds. Again it acts as a reservoir. This entire cycle continues. Here WTO fact sheet says that West Nile fever causes neurological diseases similar to Japanese encephalitis. Then approximately 80% of the people infected don't show any symptoms. Then it transmits through mosquitoes. This causes severe diseases and deaths in horses also. But in horses, vaccines are available, but for people not available. Birds are the natural hosts of the West Nile fever. See, whenever we see these fact sheet provided by WHO or some government organizations, these are important because from them only questions are being asked in the examination. The next article is with regard to Afghanistan and Taliban issue. Here, this issue comes under GS Paper 2 International Relations, India-Afghanistan Relations. Here we should understand who are these Talibans and why have they become problem over there? What is the solution now? To understand this, we should understand the historical background of Afghanistan. In 1970s, when that country's government was under communist influence, others tried to bring down this particular government. Then USSR, erstwhile USSR has invaded this particular country. During this process, Afghanistani students, people, youth belong to Afghanistan, they have formed different groupings. One such group is Taliban. This group fought against USSR. Then later, USSR has withdrawn from this country in the year 1989. In this particular year, USSR withdrawn from Afghanistan. After that, Taliban tried to control the power in the Afghanistan. At one point of time, it has formed government also. But it has ultra conservative notion about society and polity. Because of that, again, the government has fallen. Many factions in Afghanistan formed. No stability in the government. While this is the situation within the country, in the year 2001, there was an attack on USA's Twin Towers. After that, USA invaded Afghanistan. This led to again crisis within the country. Afghanistan formed different factions like Taliban and other groupings. USA slowly tried to restore the democratic government over there. But then, if we observe even today, now 2019, even today also the democratic government is not strong. When USA is saying that it is moving out of Afghanistan, there is all out fear that again Taliban will overpower the government formed over there. That is the fear. So they wanted to find a solution for this particular problem. So all these people, stakeholders, we call them as stakeholders, those who are interested, these are called stakeholders. All these stakeholders are brought in and Moscow format. Moscow format means talks with Talibans. Talks with Talibans, talks with the government. They wanted to bring in these Talibans into political fold. They are asking these Talibans to form a political party and participate democratically within the country. So if people chooses them, they can run the government. That is the objective of all the talks with the Taliban. This is the overall situation that is going on over there. Now the question is, what is India's stand? India's stand traditionally is no talks with Taliban. if there is talks, that talk should be between the Afghanistani government and Taliban. Others should not intervene in this. But then now what is happening? Russia, China, USA, Pakistan, these have become major countries in negotiating with Taliban. In this context, India is seeing for the alternative. What path should it take? Should it go for talks with the Taliban, ignoring its earlier stand, or should it continue its present stand? So, what is the way forward? That is the question now. In this particular article, one solution is mentioned, that is that even if we are going for talks now with the Taliban, they are not going to be fruitful. So, go for the candidates who are contesting the presidential polls. In this year, there are presidential elections in the Afghanistan. So, talk with them, build the soft power. That way, India can influence Afghanistan, not through the Taliban's way. Next article is with regard to revolutionary ideas of Bhagat Singh. This topic comes under our GS paper 1, modern history. In history, we have national leaders and their ideology. Here if we take, Bhagat Singh is considered one of the revolutionary leaders. He, along with others, have started different revolutionary movements. We remember all that and we read all that. But what we often ignore is his intellectual capacity or his thoughts on various issues. One such issue is with regard to universal brotherhood. Universal brotherhood. He has written many articles on this. What is the meaning of universal brotherhood? It means various caste barriers are there, religious barriers are there, class barriers are there. We should ignore all of them, and unity should be there among diversity. That is universal brotherhood. He has envisaged for universal brotherhood. That is one of his ideas. Second idea is with regard to untouchability. He has told that untouchability is one of the sins and we should feel shameful for continuing it. At the time, he has written many articles on this. So likewise, he has contributed to different intellectual thoughts also. So we should remember him for these also, not just for the revolutionary activities. That is what this article is trying to tell us. Next article is with regard to Indian Evidence Act. This comes under GS paper 2 polity, where we read about different statutes. Here we have this Indian Evidence Act. Under this particular act, what is considered as fair evidence? Here what is in news? Yediyurappa's diary is there. In that, some names belong to different political party members are mentioned. So is it considered as an evidence? That is the question now. In different cases, Benny versus Bisan Dayal case, Jain Hawala case, Sahara Birla case, in different cases, this consideration of diary as evidence is considered. And is it considered as an evidence or not was discussed in all these cases. The gist of it is, if it is officially recorded one, yes, it can be considered, or if it is regularly noted, yes, it can be considered as evidence. But if it is written on and on basis, and if it is just a sheet of paper, it cannot be considered as an evidence under Indian Evidence Act. The next article is with regard to VVPATs. Recently, this is in news. This comes under GS paper 2 polity elections. What is in news? Why is it in news? Some of the political parties gone to Supreme Court saying that in EVMs we are using VVPATs. But these VVPAT votes are counted randomly in one polling booth in a particular constituency. But we want 50% of the VVPAT votes to be tallied with the EVM votes. That is the contestation of opposition parties. So they have petitioned with the Supreme Court. Supreme Court asked Election Commission to see its viability. Because of that, it has given this particular assignment to Indian Statistical Institute to see for the random sampling. In that context, we should understand what are these VVPATs, how they work. VVPATs are attached to EVMs to increase the transparency, and VVPAT votes are checked randomly. Here in VVPATs, we have a small kind of printer where we can see a candidate serial number, candidate's name and corresponding symbol. These are to cross-verify the votes with regard to EVMs. Here we should remember these factual points also. First time VVPATs were used in the year 2013 in Nagaland Assembly elections, and in the year 2014 in few Lok Sabha constituencies these are used. Now in the coming elections we are going to use them for all the legislative assembly elections and all the Lok Sabha constituencies. The next article is with regard to Brexit. This comes under our GS paper 2 international relations. What is Brexit and how this process sets in? Regarding this, we have made a specific video in our particular channel. Please try to watch that for clarity. What is Brexit? There is this group known as European Union, which consists of 28 member countries. UK, United Kingdom, is part of that group. Now United Kingdom wants to come out of it. This is known as Brexit. Under Brexit, if it wants to come out of this particular group, it should make a deal with European Union. Now European Union has given 2 years of deadline. This Brexit process was set in on the date of 29th March 2017. So the 2 years deadline is going to complete in this particular month. Now they will have to finalize a deal that should be approved by the UK Parliament, which they are unable to pass. That is the controversy. Because of that, European Union has given 2 more weeks, extended 2 more weeks to finalize the deal. The next article is with regard to Belt and Road Initiative. What is this Belt and Road Initiative? Who has proposed it? What are the objectives of it? Who are part of it? These things we should know. This comes under GS paper 2 international relations. Under this particular concept, China has proposed in the year 2013, China has proposed its Belt and Road Initiative. Under that, it has proposed 2 routes. One is land route, 2 sea route or maritime route to connect different countries. Land route connects like this, sea route connects like this. So it covers Asia, Africa and Europe, 3 continents. Now there are few countries known as developed countries with the name G7, group of 7 countries. In these group of 7 countries, we have Italy. No country is part of this OB war. Now recently Italy has signed to be part of OB war. All these countries are developed countries, so they are seeing growing China as threat. Now as Italy has joined, it has strengthened China's OB war project. That is what we should remember. The next article is with regard to disinvestment. What is this disinvestment? Under which topic does it comes? It comes under GS paper 3 economy budgeting. We have this concept known as budgeting. Under this particular concept, we read about disinvestment. The term disinvestment itself says disinvestment. Means government is foregoing its investment in some companies. It means government shares are sold out from the public companies to the private entities. That is known as disinvestment. This disinvestment process is overseen by Ministry of Finance. Under Ministry of Finance, we have one separate department for it known as Department of Investment and Public Asset Management, DIPAM. This is the separate department that oversees the disinvestment process. Earlier at one point of time, we had separate ministry for disinvestment, but now that comes under Ministry of Finance. Under that, we are the government is selling shares in the public companies to the private entities. So the target, this year's target is 80,000 crores, but now we have got 85,000 crores under the disinvestment plan. The next article is with regard to deficits of the state. SBI economist says, by the next financial year 2020, state's overall deficit is going to come down. Here we should understand what is this deficit. It comes under GS paper 3, economy, government budgeting. This is the concept. Under government budgeting, we read about different kinds of deficits. For that, we should understand what is this budget. Budget is the comprehensive document of the government which says what is the income that it is getting, what is the money that is expending. Expenditure and the income both are given under budget. Under income, government has two major sources. One is tax income, two is non-tax income. Non-tax income like fees, fines, etc. that comes under non-tax income. Tax income is again divided into direct taxes, indirect taxes. Here under expenditure we have two types of heads. One is revenue expenditure, that is short term. Two is capital expenditure, that is long term. When the government's expenditure is more as compared to its income, then we say that condition as deficit. This deficit is occurred by the government when the expenditure is more. Now SBI economist says, as the tax income is being increased and the revenue expenditure is reduced, the government's, especially the state's government's deficits are going to reduce. That is the prediction. Why tax income is going to increase? The GST collections are increasing, because of which the tax income, GST comes under indirect tax. The direct tax income, indirect tax income is going to increase, because of which deficit is going to reduce. The next article is with regard to debt mutual funds. Their allocation to the government securities has reduced by half. That is the news. Now let us understand what are these debt mutual funds. This comes under GS paper 3, economy. What is mutual fund? Let us understand this word. Next, let us understand what are government securities. Then we also have one more term known as corporate bonds. Let us see what are these three terms. What is mutual fund? A group of people comes together and gives money to a particular company or intermediary and asks this company or intermediary to invest in different sources. That is known as mutual funds. It means they are not going to invest the entire money on one source but on different sources. Corporate bonds, government securities, shares of other companies, etc. These are all the sources where mutual funds money is invested. Now, one such source is government securities. What are they? Government securities are released by RBI on behalf of government. On behalf of the government of India, RBI releases certain bonds. These bonds, they have certain interest rate, percentage of interest rate and a period of time, maturity period. We call this as maturity period because before that we cannot redeem these bonds. So period and the interest rate are mentioned on these particular bonds. As government is guaranteeing them, these are known as government securities. Government securities are considered more stable and more reliable because the returns are guaranteed, but comparatively interest rates are less. If we see corporate bonds, these are issued by the corporate companies or private companies. They say that we pay you some interest rate, some interest rate over a particular period, and then they take the money from us, they give the bond to us. These are known as corporate bonds. What is the difference between government securities and corporate bonds? Both are debt instruments because they'll have to pay it back on a future date. Both are debt instruments, but these are guaranteed, these are not. Recently, there is a crisis in NBFCs, non-banking financial companies. There is a crisis, and these NBFCs have issued some corporate bonds. They are unable to pay it back. That has led to huge scale slowdown in the NBFC sector. This is today's mains question. Try to answer it. This is first question for today. It is regarding Brexit. The second question is with regard to Belt and Road Initiative. Try to answer for these two questions. Tomorrow we will see what are the correct answers for these two questions.